One thing Jets fans are learning about Joe Douglas, he loves to fill out his roster with veterans after signing Frank Gore. Now he has addressed a position that I really wanted the Jets to address earlier in the offseason, but have finally done so, the backup quarterback position, signing Joe Flacco to a one-year deal, $1.5 million guaranteed with incentives to bring it to $4.5 million as reported by Adam Schefter. Now, a little bit of background why this makes a lot of sense is don't forget, in 2008, Douglas was a part of the regime in Baltimore that drafted Joe Flacco. And look, a lot of people look down on his career, but we forget he's won over 10 games in the postseason, and he's also won a Super Bowl ring. I mean, he's had an incredible career, and if you drafted a quarterback in the first round, and I was to tell you, hey, he's going to win you 10 playoff games in his career and get you a Super Bowl title, most teams would sign up for that. Pretty much every team, I would say. And I think this is a great and shrewd move by the Jets because, first of all, this is really a drop in the bucket. This is not an expensive contract to get a good veteran presence around Sam Darnold. And look, I like James Morgan a lot. I think they can carry him as a third quarterback. I think he could be a guy that next year can take over the full backup position. But going into this season, and I love Darnold, but Darnold hasn't been able to play a full season his entire NFL career, and that's scary. So having a guy like Joe Flacco is important because even though he struggled the last 2 years by his standards, he still threw 20 touchdowns to 11 picks over those 2 years, and he's just serviceable. And even though he's not as mobile as a lot of these younger quarterbacks, the Jets have drastically improved the offensive line. And the biggest reason I love this signing isn't because he improves the backup position, which was woefully needed and woefully valuable in this league, but I really like it because last year, during the times we saw in the Sam game against the Patriots, he was seeing ghosts. I really do believe not having Josh McCown last year on the roster really hurt Sam's development in a certain way because he didn't have a veteran quarterback he could go to. And this is a situation where Flacco understands he's going to be the backup here. He's not competing for the starting role. He's competing for the backup spot, and his job is to help Sam Darnold develop. And I do believe having a veteran presence like that is invaluable. It's one thing to have a very good coach, but having a quarterback, and you could hear Darnold his entire rookie year talk about how much he praised Josh McCown, how much he helped his development. And I will even say this, I think Josh McCown really helped Carson Wentz last year. I really believe watching the Eagles last year that Wentz's decision-making was a lot better, and I think he did a better job of protecting himself in the regular season. And I do think a veteran presence like a Josh McCown really helped with that. So bringing in Flacco here, it's a really good move because the Jets didn't have a great backup plan. I would be worried if James Morgan was thrown in. I think James Morgan can develop into a very good backup, but I think throwing him in as a rookie isn't the best situation and might kill his confidence. But getting a guy like Flacco who can come in and help Darnold, and Joe Douglas comes from Philadelphia. No organization has valued the backup quarterback more than Philadelphia. They understand the importance of having a good backup plan in case an injury arises. I mean, just look at this draft. They drafted Jalen Hurts in the second round, and people were killing them. And even I was critical. But you understand that that's what they do. They always have a strong backup plan, whether it was bringing in Michael Vick to be the backup, whether it was having Nick Foles originally as a backup. They understand the value of a quarterback, especially if the starter gets hurt. If you need a great example, just look at the Jets last year when Darnold went down with mono. This offense couldn't even function. There were games they couldn't get past the 50-yard line. It was rough to watch. So bringing in a quarterback like Flacco, at the league minimum basically for a backup quarterback, having a guy that can not only teach James Morgan, their rookie quarterback, and a quarterback that's very similar, big arm, bigger guy like Flacco, but also, more importantly, giving Darnold in year 3 a veteran to lean on. And I do think that hurt him at times last year, not having that veteran presence around him in his second year of development. but it also gives the Jets a good option in case Darnold misses times. And I love Darnold, but he's missed games in his first 2 seasons. He hasn't made it through a full 16 games, and the Jets understand that. They brought in a good contingency plan, and Joe Douglas comes from the school of Baltimore, of Philadelphia, and especially in Philadelphia. They value the backup quarterback position because they know if the starting quarterback gets hurt, you just cannot completely give up on the season. Most of these teams, you see the star go down, the season's over. The Jets understand the value of a backup quarterback, and more importantly, Joe Douglas understands the value of a backup quarterback, not just to plug and play when they are needed, but in developing young quarterbacks. And once again, Joe Douglas, after the draft, like Frank Gore, bringing in a good veteran locker room presence that will help these younger guys develop. And I have to give Joe Douglas, once again, a lot of credit. Very smart moves, and especially building a good culture with the Jets, which was sorely needed over the last couple years. So once again, Joe Douglas doing a great job, and the Jets have officially signed Joe Flacco to be their backup quarterback in 2020. Do you want more Jets news? Make sure you hit that subscribe button because you're not going to want to miss any of that here on Rich Sports Talk. And until next time, I'm your host, Nolan Rich. Thank you for joining us here on Rich Sports Talk.